What's up, tennis fans? Sleepy Picks here. A crazy day at the Monte Carlo Masters. We'll recap all of it and give you our round of 16 picks. Let's get started. Here's a look at Alcaraz's half of the draw. First match we have Alcaraz against Etcheverry. Alcaraz able to get through Baez 6-1, 6-3, and not really much of a challenge for this match. Baez was able to come back from 3-0 down, get it to 3-all, and then Alcaraz kind of turned it on a little bit more and able to roll through that match. I mean, Baez just a little bit too defensive in that match. You don't want to be so far back on the baseline playing against Carlos Alcaraz. He's just going to expose you that way. I was a little bit surprised. I mean, obviously, like Carlos, extremely aggressive with the forehand. Thought Baez would try to be a little bit closer to the baseline to maybe take some time away or force the issue against Carlos, but not to be. Alcaraz advances 6-1, 6-3. Next match is Etcheverry against Atman. And this was another nice three-set win for Etcheverry, getting the job done 3-6, 6-3, 6-2. And for about a set and a half, it looked like it was going to be Atman's match. I mean, Atman just really powering through with that forehand. But you could tell as you started to get deeper and deeper into the match, the legs were getting tired. He wasn't moving as well. He was getting caught trying to move around and hit that forehand. Etcheverry just doing a great job, being patient. You have a guy, we talked about this before, who has the experience on the clay court, 11-2 on the clay this year. He knew that if he just waited and bided his time, that eventually he's going to be able to wear down Atman. Atman doesn't have a great backhand, and he did a great job hiding it for about a set and a few games, and then Etcheverry able to start to expose that side, find a little bit more offense towards that side, and then you saw the legs of Atman just start to get a little bit tired, moving around the backhand every single time. So great three-set win for Etcheverry. Looking at the head-to-head here between Alcaraz and Etcheverry, it is 1-0 for Carlos Alcaraz. They met in a challenger back in 2020. 7-6, 6-3 win for Alcaraz in the quarterfinals. That was on clay. Not sure how much weight we can give that. These guys are in two different places now, for sure. Etcheverry coming in, he's 11-2, he's 12-2 now on the clay, and 9-14 last year, 19-13 the year before. Alcaraz, on the other hand, 1-0 on the clay with that one win over Baez, 22-1 last year, 17-4 the year before. I feel like this is going to be a straight set match for Alcaraz, but I do have like a strange feeling that Etcheverry is going to have something to say about it. I mean, he is a solid clay quarter. Baez was a decent clay quarter as well. I would put Etcheverry a little bit of a step up above Baez this year at least on the clay. So I'm hoping that Etcheverry can kind of bring that confidence on the clay to challenge Alcaraz. But for me, looking at the Etcheverry game, there isn't much that he's going to be able to do to threaten Carlos. Like, you need somebody that's going to have a little bit more offense to their game, like a Sinner, that's going to be able to step in and kind of take some points, take some shots to Alcaraz. I just think Etcheverry trying to grind this game out is just it's not gonna work. He's going to come up against this powerful Alcaraz forehand, and I don't think he's gonna have many answers for it. I'm gonna go with Alcaraz in straight sets. I'll say one set's gonna be close, probably like a 6-4 or a 7-5, and then the other set's probably gonna be pretty straightforward. So Alcaraz in straights. Next match is Lehecka taking on Bublik, and Lehecka and Tabilo, this was a tough match. Obviously, we had Tabilo coming through. Really thought he had the ability to do it. And the one thing that I noticed in this match, I thought Tabilo played the better tennis for about a set and a half. He was really challenging Lehecka, but Lehecka just able to come up with some bigger shots, even on that backhand. We've been critical of him on that side, and when he plays someone that is able to really hit a ball aggressively to the backhand, he has some issues. But Tabilo just not able to do that. He doesn't have that style the way that Felix was able to do it on the faster courts in, I think it was Doha. But Tabilo looked good. His only way of getting the ball kind of past Lehecka was coming into net. So he really had to set up the majority of his points to play. This was a good match. I mean, I thought Lehecka played really well. I was really impressed. He was the one, especially even in the third set, he took risks and they paid off. He hit a couple of risky down the line shots. He was able to make them, and that kind of made the difference in the match. So Lehecka is able to advance through 4-6, 7-6, 6-3. And he takes on Bublik. Bublik able to beat Monfils. And we talk a little bit about Monfils. Haven't seen him win back-to-back matches yet this year. He's been able to win a few solid first-round matches, but just that endurance is always questionable for him. Obviously, he's a little bit older. Nice match for Bublik to kind of get his feet wet. We saw a lot of targeting from Bublik. He was using the heavy spin ball to go out to the Monfils backhand, and he was comfortable just crushing forehands back and forth with Monfils. I think he felt comfortable that he would be able to connect with more of those shots than Monfils would. Again, we talk about when you play Monfils, you kind of have to roll with the punches a little bit. He likes to kind of come up with some of these big, flashy shots, but the thing is he's not going to do it every single point. So Bublik able to neutralize the flashiness of Monfils and get through 6-4, 6-4. Looking at this head-to-head here for Bublik and Lehecka, it is 1-0 for Bublik, and the one match was a retirement. Back in 2024, it was a win for Bublik, 6-4, 4-1, retired in Dubai. Looking at their clay court records, Lehecka moving to 2-0 here after those two wins in Monte Carlo, and Bublik 1-0 after the win over Monfils. Last year, Bublik having an amazing clay season, 23-6, 5-6 the year before that, so not great. And Lehecka 5-5 last year, 4-1 the year before that. Lehecka surviving 2 3-set matches, one over Nava, one over Tabilo, so he's definitely primed and ready to go here. Will he be a little bit tired? Maybe. He's got 5 hours, 40 minutes on court compared to Bublik's 1 hour and 16 minutes on court. Lehecka's records in Monte Carlo. He lost in the second round last year to Machetti, lost in the third round in 2023 to Fritz, and lost in the first round to Goffin. So not much success there for him in this tournament. Bublik, on the other hand, lost in the qualifiers to Lajovic, lost to Coric in the first round in 2024. In 2023, lost in the first round to Zverev in 3 sets, and lost in the second round in 2022 to Carlo Busta. So, again, these guys not great. Bublik with a 1-5 match record here in Monte Carlo. So, neither really playing good tennis on this surface. So, big opportunity for these guys, especially to get out to a quarterfinal in this tournament. I like what I'm seeing from Lehecka. I'm questioning kind of the Bublik form and how he's been playing. Lost to Berrettini in Miami, lost to Hijikata in Indian Wells. He hasn't been up to the level that we're used to. Now, we talk about getting back onto the clay. Is that going to give him more comfort, more confidence? This was a surface that he found a lot of success on going into the French Open and then having a nice run there. So that could be part of it. But we're also looking at a Lehecka who's booming with confidence right now off of that Miami finalist position. So I got to go with Lehecka here. I think it's going to be a 3-setter. The Bublik serve's always a big threat there. I think Lehecka is going to be able to take care of business here. I think that Tabilo match really kind of showed me that Lehecka can hang with a lot of these tougher clay quarters as well. So give me Lehecka here in 3 sets. Next match, we have Vacherot taking on Hurkacz, and what a match from Valentin Vacherot taking out Machetti. Just incredible tennis from him. And Machetti not playing his best tennis. We saw glimpses of the Massetti from the Australian Open, the Massetti last year from the French Open, and last year's clay season, but it just wasn't consistent enough to get the win here or even get a set. Keep in mind, this is a guy, in Massetti that he's only played one match since the Australian Open, and that was a loss at Indian Wells to Fuchsovics. And he decided to kind of shut it down, go straight to the clay. I think that was a smart idea. So I don't know how much I want to put in this match and say, well, we got to put red flags up. Massetti's not the level that we want. I feel like in a couple of tournaments he's going to be good to go. I think he's playing next week too, so he knows that he's not going to come back immediately and be in prime form. And this match definitely kind of a wake-up call for him that he's got to get to work a little bit more. Should not be losing matches to Vacherot. But overall, a great match from Vacherot, finding his offense, taking advantage of coming to net, playing a lot of aggressive balls to Massetti, and Massetti just not able to come up with the goods. Came up with some great looking passing shots, but not enough to get a dent in Vacherot. Massetti did have a lead in that breaker. I think it was 4-2, and you kind of felt like it was the scales were tipping towards Massetti. But Vacherot, with the crowd, with the momentum of the crowd, able to wrestle this match away from him. But definitely look out, guys. If they play again on the clay, I feel like Massetti's really going to want revenge there. I think it's going to be a very focused match for him if they play again. The other match was Marijan and Hurkacz. Hurkacz able to take out Marijan 6-2, 6-3. And this was impressive fashion from Hurkacz. Just able to be the aggressor. Marijan not getting comfortable at all there. Really didn't look great today. And we talked about this. Both these guys are on my no picks. And now one's advanced to the round of 16. So great move, great play for Hurkacz to get through and take out Marijan. He was definitely the aggressor. He's got the big forehand. He can come into net. He can put balls away. Just put a lot of pressure on Marijan. Looking at this head-to-head here between Vacherot and Hurkacz, no matches played between these two guys. We have Hurkacz coming in as a 74th ranked player compared to Vacherot as a 23rd ranked player. Vacherot's played 4 hours and 30 minutes on court compared to Hurkacz's 3 hours and 30 minutes. Hurkacz's clay court record is 2-0. That's the only the two wins that he's had here on the Monte Carlo clay. Last year he was 7-4. The year before he was 14-4. Vacherot, on the other hand, again, same thing, 2-0, only on the Monte Carlo clay, with a win over Juan Manuel Cerundolo and Lorenzo Massetti in straights. 24-12 last year on the clay, 15-9 on the clay the year before. So I think, we talked about how Vacherot maybe didn't play some of the higher level tournaments. He was having more success on the challenger level. Now he's transferring his game out here, and he doesn't look too bad. I mean, the backhand for me for Vacherot always needs work. I just think that's kind of like a glaring weakness when he goes up against stronger players. But obviously, hey, it didn't really show against Massetti. But I feel like some of the the Alcarazes, the Djokovic's of the world, they'll expose that shot. You had Arthur Feast did a great job at exposing that 3-setter, but still able to get enough shots out to that backhand and make Vacherot produce some offense with that side. It's a little bit harder for him. I'm gonna go with Vacherot to win this match. I think him having that home crowd advantage is definitely gonna help here. I mean, they just want their guy to go as far as possible here. Would be great to get Vacherot out into a semifinal against Alcaraz. I think that would be awesome to see, and I think it's a possibility for sure because there's not really many other clay quarters standing in his way. So I'm gonna go Vacherot here. I'll say he advances in straight sets. Last match is Blockx against DeMinaur. And guys, how about Blockx's win over Caboli? Pretty impressive, especially considering Caboli having such a good clay court season last year. One thing I really underestimated about Blockx was the firepower that he has coming off that forehand. I mean, Kaboli can hit his forehand, and Block's forehand when he loaded into it looked just as big. I mean, he was really roping some shots past Kaboli. I mean, both these guys very strong forehands. Backhands they're used to just using to kind of set up their shots. So we kind of had a few more backhand battles here between these two guys, and Blockx was winning a lot of those, like able to just be a little bit more consistent, get some depth, and look to open up the court and find his forehand. Kaboli, on the other hand, just a few too many errors. You could tell he was getting a little frustrated. He just didn't look at his best here, and I felt like the points where he was able to make them short, a serve +1, a return +1, he looked great. The forehand was booming. But once he started to get into some of these rallies, they were very iffy of whether Kaboli was going to win them or not. So he's definitely got to go back and reevaluate what happened here. Blockx, extremely impressive. We've talked about him back on the Challenger Tour. He's had a ton of success there. 4 Challenger titles for him. So he knows, he knows how to win. It's great to see that game starting to come into fruition here at Monte Carlo. He now takes on Alex DeMinaur. DeMinaur able to take out Cam Norrie a couple of days ago. And that match, remember, was a rematch of the Indian Wells loss that DeMinaur had 6-4, 6-4 to Cam Norrie. And honestly, guys, there is a set point in that first set for Norrie, and DeMinaur able to just play like a nice extended rally, finishing by closing into the net. But if Norrie was able to get that, this is probably a 7-5, 6-2 match for him. So good on DeMinaur. You could tell he really wanted this one. Obviously these guys, like these top guys, they don't like losing to some of these lower ranked players. They don't like losing to them twice, no more once. Looking at the head-to-head here for DeMinaur and Blockx. Blockx, no head-to-head here for these guys, sorry. They have not met before. Blockx coming in, he's 4-0 on the clay. That is only his 4 matches on the Monte Carlo clay. He was 4-4 last year on the clay, 7-3 the year before on the clay. I mean, guys, he looks great. Like his movement looks good. He's hitting his forehand. He's really going to take it to DeMinaur tomorrow, so I'm really interested to see what we get here from this match. DeMinaur, on the other hand, 1-0 on the clay, 1-0 on the clay with that 1 win over Norrie, 10-5 last year, 10-5 the year before that. I mean, Blockx is going to have the biggest shot on the court, and he can definitely bother a player like DeMinaur, where DeMinaur's kind of got to rely a little bit on the errors. He's got to rely on his guile. He's got to be able to open the court up, move his opponent around a little bit. Can he do that? For sure. This is going to be the best hitter that Blockx has played so far. Nice win over Maestrelli and Jumer in the qualifiers. Jumer, a very solid clay quarter. He did get a lucky loser spot out to here, losing to Marijan. Beats Shapo in 3 sets. We talked about how Blockx had already beaten Shapo in the indoor hardcourt surface, so we thought he was going to have success there. And then the surprise today in straight sets against Kaboli, 6-3, 6-3. DeMinaur, on the other hand, struggled with Cam Norrie, but we've always talked about Cam Norrie is just a nightmare matchup for DeMinaur. Does not really like playing Cam Norrie. You could tell, especially even on the return yesterday that DeMinaur just really struggled with that backhand return. Norrie really swinging some of those serves out to the backhand side of DeMinaur. And I think it was in the second set, I think DeMinaur had only won 1 point on the backhand return of Norrie. So that's wild. That's crazy for him to only win 1, player of his caliber. I'm going to go with DeMinaur here to win this. Something tells me this is going to be a 3-setter. I think Blockx is going to be able to to really push DeMinaur around with that forehand. I just don't see block. Like, I love how confidently he's hitting, but the thing is, the farther we get in this tournament, the more nervous, the tighter he's going to get. So I don't know what kind of blocks we're going to have coming out. Now he's playing, a top 10 guy. This is his chance to really prove himself. So I don't know what kind of blocks we're going to get. Are we going to get someone that's going to rise to the occasion? So far, this has been the only real ATP tournament that he's been able to kind of rise to the occasion. So I don't know if I really trust him to get through a match like this. I said the same thing when he was playing Caboli, and he rolled Caboli. But DeMinaur is a different animal. So I'm going to go DeMinaur. I say he wins in 3 sets over Blockx. Here's a look at Alcaraz's half of the draw with my quarterfinal picks. Can't believe we're already at the quarterfinals here. Again, I hate to sound like a broken record. I really don't see much of a resistance here for Alcaraz. Even if Bublik gets through, obviously Bublik a good server, but Alcaraz is just a little bit too good of a returner, too good of a rallier to really be threatened by someone like Bublik. DeMinaur, maybe if he's able to come through and challenge Alcaraz in the semis, that could be maybe a tricky match for him. And then you got Vacherot, maybe with the crowd, to make it out to the semis and challenge Alcaraz. I just see Alcaraz winning that match pretty easily. So I think Alcaraz is going to advance here in this half of the draw and get to the final. Let's take a look at the next part of the draw. Here's a look at Sinner's half of the draw, and what a match from Berrettini, 6-0, 6-0. He hasn't dropped a single game this tournament. He got that 4-0 retirement from Bautista Agut. So he is 16-0 in this tournament going into the round of 16. I'm guessing he's probably going to drop a few games against Fonseca. Not really much to talk about with that Berrettini Medvedev match. Just like, it was a weird match because the first game, Medvedev had a few break points. It could have been a totally different match if Medvedev gets the break there. I think if Medvedev gets the break there, I don't see it being like 6-1, 6-0. I don't see Berrettini running away with 12 straight games. I think Medvedev just let everything kind of pile up, got very frustrated. He was throwing his racket, just not what you want to see on your first match on clay. You can tell he doesn't like it out on this clay, so I'm sure he can't wait to get back to the hard courts in the summer. But for now, he's got to deal with the clay. We'll see how he does in his next tournament. Berrettini moves on 6-0, 6-0. He takes on Fonseca. Fonseca able to get through a tough match against Rinderknecht. And, I gotta say, it really does feel like we have a new version of Fonseca. Especially from the Fonseca that we saw even on the South American clay. It's just a little bit different. He's hitting more confidently. He's trusting his shots. We talked about he's got every shot in the book, so there's nothing that he can't hit. And the way that he's just hitting his forehand, dictating up the middle of the court. Rinderknecht, credit to him, great playing. Just the serve and volley was very impressive. I'm just not used to seeing that very often, and it worked well, especially in some of the bigger points. We saw him go to the serve and volley to save some break points, but Fonseca just too strong, and again, another big win for him to notch here over Rinderknecht. Now he takes on Berrettini, and this match is going to be very interesting. I'm leaning towards Fonseca. The head-to-head is 1-0 for Berrettini. Berrettini getting a win in Davis Cup, indoor hard court, 6-1, 7-6 over Fonseca. Berrettini coming in with only an hour and 12 minutes. The Medvedev match was like 50 minutes, and then the Bautista Agut match was like 20 minutes. So only an hour and 12 for him on the clay so far, compared to Fonseca's 4 hours on the clay. I just really like what we're seeing from Fonseca. I feel like he's playing extremely confidently. He's moving really well. He's trusting his shots. He's starting to hit the right shots at the right time. And we talk about, like, I felt like he just was choosing some of the wrong shots at the wrong time, like on the run, trying to rope some huge shots. Now he's like opening the court up, then hitting his big shot. Fonseca coming in, he is 3-2 on the clay now, 8-5 last year, 14-11 the year before. Berrettini 5-4 on the clay this year, 4-3 last year. 15-1 the year before. So Berrettini's had a lot of success on the clay. Let's take a look at how he's done here in Monte Carlo. A third round in 2023 and 2025, a second round in 2021, and a first round exit in 2019 and 2024. So hasn't really made it past the third round here. So this will be really interesting to see if he's going to be able to get out and win and get to a quarterfinal. That would be a huge accomplishment. Fonseca, on the other hand, this is his first Monte Carlo, so extremely impressive for him to get out here to the round of 16. Not really much more I want to say here, guys. I'm going to go with Fonseca here. I think it's going to be another 3-setter, maybe a tough 2-setter, but just what I saw from Fonseca over Rinderknecht. Rinderknecht not really known as a clay quarter, but he played a very strong match, and for Fonseca to just get the better of him there, I feel like even like 2 months ago, that would have been Rinderknecht in 3 sets. But Fonseca able to win it in 3. We're starting to see that potential of Fonseca bloom here, and I hope we can see more of it to come. I think he gets through this match. I think he's going to be able to win it. I'll say 3 sets over Berrettini, maybe 2 tough sets. But give me Fonseca to advance here in 3. Next match we have Zverev taking on Bergs, and Bergs beating Rublev 6-4, 6-1. Rublev a little bit injured in that match. You know, that's unfortunate. Obviously, we picked him to advance. I thought he would be able to be the better player here. But we talked about how Bergs really needed a match like this to kind of jumpstart the year for him. So hopefully this is going to give him a little bit of confidence. Now he's playing an even better clay quarter in Zverev. And the Zverev-Garin match, we talked about, I told you guys, you know, not to get mixed up in this match. I knew it was going to be a close one. I felt like the way that what I saw from Garin in his first match, in his first round, that he was really going to pressure Zverev. He just made Zverev look extremely uncomfortable on the clay, and the Zverev serve was not on during this match. I mean, you could tell like a lot. He had to rely a lot on second serves, a lot on trying to play a few longer points on his service games. We talk about how Zverev likes to kind of do serve plus 1 and get through these service games relatively quickly. You know, how many times did we see in the Australian Open he's holding games, you know, in under a minute? And he's just like serve plus 1, serve big forehand, serve big forehand, serve big backhand, and that's it. But Garin was making him play all these long service games, and that third set, guys, Garin getting the double break, going up 4-0. I mean, you got to feel for him. He had Zverev. This was just such a tricky match for him, a 3-hour-long match. And honestly, you could tell the nerves really started to settle in for Garin. Obviously, he's had these wins before, so there's that slight expectation that I can beat this guy even on a bigger surface like Monte Carlo. His 2 wins were in Munich, so a little bit of a lower tier. ATP tournament, still a big win, you know, still against Zverev on his home soil. But for him here to have that double break, and then Zverev able to get the break back. I think he broke back pretty easily to make it 4-1, and then had a tricky game to hold for 4-2. Let me just pull this match up and just so I can have this correct here. And then he held so Garin with a break point to go up 5-1 too. He had another break chance in the next Zverev service game. Then we had Garin hold at love for 5-2. Zverev hold at love for 5-3. And then a 30-40 break for Zverev, a 40-15 hold for Zverev, a 40 love break to go up 6-5 for Zverev. And that last game, I mean, if you guys can get your eyes on that last game, it was just great stuff. You know, Garin doing everything he could to get this to a breaker with Zverev serving, and he just wasn't able to. The nerves kind of went away, I think, in that last game because now you're playing from behind. But when he was serving for it, when he was serving up, you could just feel it. He was missing some of the easier shots that he had made all match. And, you know, my heart goes out to him because I felt like that really was his match. He put in the perfect match to beat Zverev and got everything but the win. Zverev advances 4-6, 6-4, 7-5 to make it out here and play Zizou Bergs. And guys, I feel like some people are going to think that maybe because Zverev struggled with Garin that he's going to struggle with Zizou Bergs. I kind of feel the opposite. I think this is going to be a straight setter for Zverev. No head-to-head for these guys, which is kind of interesting because both have been on tour for a while. But I'm really feeling a straight setter for Zverev. I think it's going to be very straightforward. I just think Garin, matchup-wise, is extremely difficult for Zverev, and that's why the match was so close. Like I don't want to look at it and be like, well, Zverev just played bad. I feel like Garin made Zverev play bad. Is Bergs going to be able to do that? I don't think so. You know, I think Zverev is on full notice now. You know, he's awake now. So he's going to come out wanting to right some wrongs that he did in the last match. I think we're going to see a Zverev that is fully aware and fully awake here to win this match. I think it's going to be very straightforward. I think we're going to see like a 3-3, maybe a 2-3 from Zverev. Give me Zverev in straights to advance over Zizou Bergs. And one last thing about Zverev, I just don't think he's going to put in that bad of a serving performance as well. So, like, I think that's going to improve too on the clay here. So expect that those numbers to go up a little bit, and that's going to make it even harder for Bergs to break. Next match is going to be Felix Auger-Aliassime taking on Casper Ruud. Casper Ruud getting through a tricky match against Monte. Again, we talked about how I felt like the offense of Casper Ruud would be able to push him through this match. Monte, not an overly offensive player. He's got the spin, the heavy spin, and the drop shots. But Casper Ruud is too fast and too powerful to go up against somebody like Monte and lose. So, you know, we said like as long as Casper wasn't making those errors that we're becoming so accustomed to seeing, he's going to advance, and that's exactly what he did. 7-5, 6-3, pretty nice match for Casper Ruud. He takes on Felix, and Felix, obviously, you know, his first match on clay, playing Marin Cilic, and Cilic having already gotten a match under his belt. Felix looked a little bit rough at the beginning, for sure. Cilic going up the break. He was playing the more aggressive tennis against Felix. And, you know, we talk about how, again, like if you can put Felix on his back foot the way that Terence Ottman did, the way that Arthur Feast did, then you're going to have a lot of success. If you're able to target the majority of your shots to the Felix backhand, you're going to have a lot of success. And Cilic was just able to kind of like take the racket out of Felix's hand for the first like 4 or 5 games. But once Felix started to get his footing on the clay and started to move Cilic around, we know the movement of Cilic is a little bit of a weak point. Felix was able to break back, get it to a breaker, and win in straight 7-6, 6-3. You know, that just to me was the biggest factor, was just the minute that Felix was able to kind of get his footing on the clay, he was able to push and move Cilic around. And Cilic playing some of these longer points, if he's not playing his like serve +1 or serve +2, he's going to be in trouble. So Cilic wasn't able to do that towards the end of the first set and into the second set. Felix able to take full advantage of that. He was booming and rocketing that forehand. So he advances. This is going to be a really good matchup. Head-to-head is 5-4 for Felix. Last meeting was in 2024. Let's go over their 3 meetings in 2024 because 2 were on clay. The first one was in Madrid. In the 4th round, Felix was able to win 6-4, 7-5. Then they played in the Olympics in Paris, and Felix was able to win 6-4, 6-7, 6-3. That was a quarterfinal Paris, so extremely important match. Then you can get into the semifinals where you have a chance to get into the medal round. Good win for Felix there. And then in August, they played in Cincinnati. 2nd round, Felix took out Casper Ruud 6-3, 6-1 in the 2nd round. And that, to me, doesn't surprise me. I would expect to see a little bit more success from Felix on the hard courts. So those are the last 3 meetings, all in 2024, and all won by Felix. Only one set he dropped 7-6, 10-8 in the breaker to Casper Ruud. Casper Ruud's 3 wins came in 2022 and 2021. One was in Madrid, one was in Montreal, one was in Turin. That's indoor hard court, which is a little bit surprising given the way that Felix plays on the indoor hard court. This is going to be a tricky matchup here, guys. Felix sitting at 1-0 on the clay. That was his first clay court match. Casper Ruud at 2-0 on the clay. He's played only the 2 matches here in Monte Carlo. Casper Ruud was 14-5 last year, 24-7 the year before. Felix was 3-6 last year, 17-8 the year before. And remember, that's 17-8. That, I believe that was the year. That was the 2024 year for the Olympics. So Felix really feeling himself on the clay. This is such a difficult match. I mean, you got Felix with the big forehand. He's going to be looking to dictate points. He's going to be looking to put shots away. Obviously, the person he played today in Cilic wasn't able to move as much. Now he's going to go up against a guy that's going to be able to get a lot of these shots back. I really trust Casper Ruud on the clay, but my biggest problem has always been picking Casper Ruud is those errors. Like, they just come out of nowhere. I remember, I think it was last year, he lost to Collignon in the U.S. Open. Maybe it was 2 years ago. I remember sitting and watching that match, and yes, Collignon played well, but there were just too many big points where Casper Ruud just hits an error, just not like out of nowhere, but like, he's just hitting too many errors on that forehand side. Casper Ruud coming off a Miami loss to Ethan Quinn, 6-4, 7-6. Lost to Carlos Alcaraz at Indian Wells, 6-1, 7-6. Felix coming off a loss to Terence Ottman, 6-3, 1-6, 6-3 in Miami, and then Arthur Fils, 6-3, 7-6. Remember, that was that revenge match for the Doha loss that Fils got, and we called that one. We thought that Fils was going to be looking for some revenge there. I'm going to pick Casper Ruud. And God, I hope I don't eat my words, guys. I think it's going to be a 3-setter. I got to pick the guy that I trust more on the clay. The guy that has shown me some consistency on the clay. Let me take a look at their Monte Carlo records here. Felix is 2-6 on the clay of Monte Carlo. This is his best result in the round of 16. So he's now at his best result. Before even coming into this tournament, his best result here was a second round. 2-6. I know Casper Ruud is much better. Let's take a look at his record. He's 11-6. His best result was a final in 2024. But remember, that was the year that he lost to Felix, too. I'm going to take Casper Ruud. I think he likes these courts. I think he's a little bit more comfortable on the clay. I think he's going to really challenge Felix to come up with big shot after big shot. Hopefully he doesn't let us down here. So give me Casper Ruud in 3 sets. Final match, we have Sinner taking on Machac, and the Machac-Cerundolo match, obviously a little bit of a surprise to me. I really thought Cerundolo was going to advance here over Machac. I didn't think Machac really was a great clay quarter, but I got to tip my cap to him. He played very well today. And Cerundolo, the first set just felt so much like a Cerundolo set. A lot of opportunities for him. He had back-to-back set points to win the set 7-5. Not able to get either of those. I mean, both saved by one an error of Cerundolo, one an incredible passing shot by Machac. I mean, and that just kind of sums up to me like the match. Machac just the guy willing to take a few more risks in the bigger points to win them. And Cerundolo, I think, kind of felt that he was the better clay quarter, and maybe he was going to get some errors from the Machac ground strokes. Didn't get them, and falls 7-6, 6-3. So great win for Machac. Sinner was absolutely clinical against Humbert, winning 6-3, 6-0. Let's talk about this Sinner and Machac match. 3-0 head-to-head for Sinner. This is a rematch of the Doha first round, where Sinner took Machac out 6-1, 6-4. They also played in Shanghai in 2024. Sinner was able to win 6-4, 7-5 in the semifinals. And then they played in Miami in the quarterfinals in 2024. Sinner able to win that 6-4, 6-2. So Sinner has not dropped a set to Thomas Machac. Will he do it tomorrow? Probably not. Thomas Machac 2-1 right now on the clay. 2-5 last year, 9-5 the year before. Sinner 1-0 with that one win over Humbert. 11-2 the year before, and 11-2 in 2024. I mean, there's not really much analysis that I want to give here. I just think Sinner is going to be way too tough for Machac. I was really surprised with how Machac was able to win some of those bigger points today. I thought he did a good job kind of taking it to Cerundolo. Cerundolo a little bit too defensive. I wanted to see Cerundolo start striking that forehand a little bit more. Machac able to come into net and really impose that all-around game that he has. Let's not forget that Machac did have a nice run in Australia, winning, I believe it was Adelaide. Maybe it was Adelaide. He won over Humbert in 3 sets. So had a nice run there. Then gets to the Australian Open, takes Musetti to 5 sets, and we remember how good Musetti was playing. It is not the Musetti that we're seeing right now. It was a much better version of him, and Machac able to push him to 5 sets. Maybe he's going to find a little bit of that form here. I think even if that Machac plays Sinner, it's probably still straight sets. So I got to go with Sinner to win here in straights. It's probably going to be like 6-3, 6-2, or something like that. So give me Sinner in straights. And here's a look at Sinner's half of the draw with my quarterfinal picks. Would love to see Fonseca and Zverev both get out and play that quarterfinal. That would be a blockbuster quarterfinal. We'd also get a very tricky match, maybe a little bit of a tricky match for Sinner if he's able to play Casper Ruud. If he plays Felix, that's going to be a very straightforward match for Sinner, because we know Felix not very comfortable on this surface, and Sinner is definitely the type of person that will expose that uncomfortability. So I don't really see anyone really challenging Sinner here. You know, Zverev looked a little bit sloppy in the first match. If he can clean it up against Bergs and then beat Fonseca handily, then maybe I'm convinced that he can push Sinner. It would be their third match in I think it's 4 weeks, 3 or 4 weeks. So at some point, Zverev got closer in Miami. The match was much closer. So maybe he's going to be able to push him a little bit further this time. We'll have to see. I'm hoping, fingers crossed, guys, for that Sinner Alcaraz final. We haven't gotten one yet this year. I want to see it so bad. A little bit of a tune-up maybe for the French Open final. But we'll have to wait and see. Let's take a look at our records. And here's a look at our second round records. Not too bad at 10-6. Obviously, a few upsets. We called a few. We missed a few. And then a few happened that we weren't expecting. So hopefully we can do better in the round of 16. And as always, guys, thanks again for watching. Make sure you like and subscribe. Share your picks in the comments. Share the video. We will have a video out every single day recapping the matches that happen and giving you some picks for the next day. Stay tuned, and I'll see you guys in the next video.